A place by the sea. The ship breaks down, you can always find me. Dirty J chilling underneath a shady tree.
The community that has started down here is something that is unique, I think, along the Jersey Shore because we are an island.
We are probably the largest barrier island community in Ocean County.
It's like this crazy attraction. People that come here just seem to love it and come again and again and again.
Forever so free, so come follow me, camping by the sea.
Your friends, your family, the community here. That's the mantra, I think. You know, the LBI strong.
All the islanders, the people who live here, and people on the mainland, the surfing community, and how close and tight this whole community is now, and how much respect people have for one another.
Hi.
Bye.
The Clam Jam alone and also other events that we have run definitely brought the surf community and business community together.
Just the energy was up. It was a great fall. It was like our time.
200 or 300 people are on the beach coming out of a great summer, kind of celebrating the postseason.
The town, families on the beach, dogs.
With 70-degree weather in October and great waves, we were stoked. Then a week later, you know, Sandy looms.
We are experiencing areas where the ocean has breached over and has met the boulevard. Again, conditions here are rapidly deteriorating. We urge all residents to keep the firehouse immediately.
The tide should have peaked a while ago. Oh my God. All right, I need to get out of here now. This is insane.
Watch your step. I don't know where it drops. Right here.
Can you see the ocean pouring through?
We just loaded up the last group of people. We are free of citizens.
We actually have, 6 municipalities, Long Beach Township being the biggest, which is 12 of the 18 miles. Start with really technically High Bar Harbor, and then as you're kind of going south, you get to Barnegat Light Borough, and then you come through to Loveladies, and you have Harvey Cedars Borough, which is its own borough, then North Beach, and then you come through Surf City Borough, its own independent borough, and Ship Bottom. And that, you're at the circle coming south, and then you come through our whole Brant Beach section, and then you come into Beach Haven Borough, which is just south of our North Beach Haven section, which is Long Beach Township. And then you go south towards South Beach Haven Inlet, and Holgate are all Long Beach Township neighborhoods.
Everyone was definitely taking this more seriously than prior storms in recent memory.
Up until 1962 was a 1944 hurricane, and that really wiped out a third of the houses in Harvey Cedars.
Nobody really had the forecasting ability back then to tell us that it was going to be the storm of the century. This time we all knew ahead of time.
During '92, they were calling it the 100-year storm and the storm of the century and all that. But basically that was, it was a lot more just flooding.
All these storms that you've seen, and then they miss us, they go past us. And, you know, I think people just don't, you know, they never thought it's going to be me.
Actually, in the 92 storm, was it 92 or was it, no, 92. Which one was the one we drove the jet ski down the boulevard? 2005, we drove a jet ski down the boulevard. That was pretty fun.
In 2011, we got hit by Hurricane Irene. We evacuated then. You know, you can't tell. You can never fully predict the weather, especially hurricanes. You don't know exactly what's going to happen, but you can get a pretty good idea.
It was always, you know, when's the wind going to switch? When's the storm going to be past us? You know, and when can we surf?
It wasn't going to be our typical nor'easter. It wasn't going to be a typical rush of a hurricane. But this was going to be basically a worst case scenario, something that we had always heard about for years and years.
It is the calm before
900-mile wide behemoth, a blocking pattern right into southern New Jersey.
It is one of the largest, if not the largest, destructive, historic, and unfortunately life-threatening.
So there's another low-pressure system out in the Midwest that was coming east as Sandy was coming up the East Coast. And there was also a blocking high up to the north over the Canadian Maritimes. And so Sandy came up the East Coast, off the coast, and then basically made a left hook, turned and came in almost due west and made landfall.
You put the stats together. Surfers we're watching hurricanes. We understand what a lot of those numbers mean. This wasn't a Category 5 storm because it didn't have the wind force, but when you look at the storm surge, the size of the storm, the pressure of the storm, 942 millibars, that's like, it doesn't happen in the North Atlantic.
Sandy was clearly undergoing transition from tropical to extratropical, starting several days before it actually arrives.
And you start to think about timelines of when it would be there.
If you look at the track, the mid-latitude storm that it was going to combine with.
Look at what the tides are going to be, what the moon is.
What kind of swell we're going to get.
Is it going to be another Irene, another Boy Who Cried Wolf situation? How bad is it going to be?
Everyone counted it out. No way it's going to happen.
All of those spaghetti models were coming right into Long Beach Island.
Everything added up.
Literally had a pit in my stomach when I heard that storm turned left. Storms don't turn left.
When my husband gets nervous, then I got nervous because, you know, he came home with all the provisions and batteries, and we filled the bathtubs up with water, and we didn't know what to expect. I didn't know if the windows were going to be blown in. You know, they were calling for high winds, and we didn't know.
We started preparing at least a week ahead of time with our emergency services, our public works, and started preparing for the eventual possibility of a storm of this magnitude.
What time you have to evacuate people by, and when you have to get people off, and when is it really gonna be here, and then what's it going to be?
There's protocols, and there's a chain of command called the ICS, Incident Command Structure. The Incident Command Structure is FEMA's invention, and I answer to the Ocean County Emergency Operations Center, and they answer to the State Police Emergency Operations Center at a place called The Rock in Trenton.
So we knew what to do, what to get ready, and it was really a state of preparedness and, okay, what do we need to do now as the storm is slowly inching up the coast?
Didn't surf before. I was a little more concerned with how brutal it was going to be.
Some people are starting to really bug, and then you start to realize that you got to evacuate and you got to start doing some preparation.
Basic necessities, bread, water, milk, make sure you have enough ice, coolers, all that fun stuff to get you through at least a few days, if not longer.
So Sunday before the storm, we topped off all the fuels. We got some supplies. There's a portable generator that we have. We went and got that, had to get a new battery in that.
Maybe we need to kind of change our focus from where are we going to surf to what do we need to do to protect ourselves. It kind of scared me.
We moved everything up to hip high. You know, we put our counters in here were 40 inches, so the computers were on top of the counters. Anything important was on top of the counters. We raised things up on our build-out walls as high as they could go. Generally, hip high was the call.
We get water in our home in the garage. It was pretty high in our garage, and it wasn't going down. And we said, all right, this is going to be the worst we've seen since we've lived here.
The key was when I was watching the Weather Channel and they said, okay, the storm made a left turn. I knew we were screwed at that point.
The governor has declared a mandatory evacuation of Long Beach Island to be completed by 4 p.m. tomorrow.
We're working on getting the evacuation done. We coordinated with the firehouse, the reverse 911, Nextel, all those things were put into effect island-wide in cooperation with the other towns. Or if they saw somebody, they asked if they were going to stay, tried to tell them to leave, and wrote down anybody that said that they were going to ride it out.
So we had a meeting with the fire company, water rescue and fire rescue, and we had moved our trucks and we had set up a station, the Ingleside Hotel and the EOC, is the old Coast Guard station. Both places we knew would withstand a pretty extreme storm. And we had picked all that up. Most of the guys were going to stay at the Ingleside that night, and I truthfully didn't think it was going to be bad that night.
Would we be home in 3 days or would it be 6 months? That feeling of not knowing was definitely unsettling. That was the worst part.
We knew there was going to be damage. We didn't know how much. We knew we were going to be needed back here. We got an invitation on Facebook. Someone we didn't even know. They're like, do you guys need a place to stay? And because they were in Barnegat, we were like, actually, yeah, because we don't want to have to go far away.
Here we got the water draining back into the bay. As the tide drops, all the water on the island is draining back into the bay. We got standing waves here.
We were glued to the television set. I just couldn't believe it. And it was like watching a movie. You couldn't really believe that was happening on your island and everywhere up and down.
In the darkened room for 3 worlds to share.
The first high tide, it was flooded all the way down to my house, and I'd never seen the water come down that far after living here, for 33 years.
Before my blackened wind covered you, I took this.
We kind of shifted into, okay, now we're going to respond and answer the needs and get the people out who needed to get out, who hadn't left when the governor ordered everybody off.
Where you don't belong.
There was water, just that fast, that quietly. Everything on 18th Street and Ship Bottom was underwater, and I mean 2 to 3 foot of water. And then I said, I'm going to take the walk.
Winds are definitely, positively, absolutely pushing 60 and approaching 70.
The light you found in love. Oh, me, she fell beneath the wheels to help me up. Black sea, the monster killed the melody you love.
You start to see social media, Facebook, and text messages and photos start to come in from the few people that did stay, and then you saw some pretty serious stuff.
We suited up because we walked back here and I saw this place, and it was just like, reality on how bad it was, because all the doors were blown out and the shop was destroyed,
It came in so fast, you didn't have time to do enough, so everybody got caught behind the 8 ball.
fence broke at the marina, and 40 boats were floating up Bay Avenue towards the restaurant.
Well, there was one on the patio, there was one on the sign, and I'm not talking like little skiffs, it was like a 28-foot Boston Whaler, like right on top of that orange boat right there.
On the patio, there was
And there was birds like all across the marsh, you could see birds.
Scattered up the street.
You could already see like the severe devastation and the destruction that had already gone on and how desolate and isolated it was. The storm flood surge hadn't even reached, its maximum potential yet.
By 7, we locked the doors.
Yeah, we have braces for the doors that cover the garage door, and then they attach to the bumpers of the trucks so that the doors can't blow in.
Once the doors started rattling bad, we just locked them
Hunkered
off.
down.
The search and rescues had to be called off at one point because it was becoming way too dangerous for our operators, our police, our first responders, and our search and rescue teams to even be out there. So we had to shut down search and rescue operations at that point. And it was a scary time. We were very concerned that there were people out there that needed help. We couldn't get to them. Electricity, as you know, was out. All communications were out. We had no way of knowing what was going on out there, the extent of the damage, nor did we have any idea of who was still out there that needed help really bad.
All right, that's the ocean meeting the bay, or that's the ocean going to the bay.
There were times at night when we were watching, and some of the things we saw were pretty crazy as far as water going where water shouldn't be. We had a lot of faith in the construction of the dune, and the bulkhead that held the dune at the Ingleside was put in by Mr. Hillman in, I believe it was 1969, and those piles went down 30 feet.
Everything was good until they started having rescue calls, and that's a whole lot more people started showing up.
My wife got picked up by a jet ski along with my daughter and the cat and taken over to the Ingleside, and I got picked up by one of those, they call them a deuce and a half, those big trucks that the National Guard guys use, and they took us over to the Ingleside.
Local government was working on getting as many people out as possible off the National Guard, but they could only get so many out and make so many trips before it got too dangerous for them.
Okay, video number 2. That's lounge chair from the Seashell. I'm up on top of the Ingleside, and you see the ocean pouring through. Wade rolling down the street. Wade rolling down the street, about to take over that car. Holy crud.
And when we watched the ocean come through the Ingleside and roll down the street, we were questioning those piles in that bulkhead.
The flooding was so bad that people had no place to go. The Ingleside next door, which was a kind of a command center for the emergency management people, was pretty much full. So people came over here, he called me, asked what to do. I said to open the doors, let people in, but to leave the electricity off. At that point, this person went behind one of the bars, the lawn bar out by the beach, inside though, smelt smoke or smelt electrical fire, unplugged one of the beer coolers, and that was the time that this rogue set of waves supposedly came through. We have about 120 feet of oceanfront, floor to ceiling windows, and they just collapsed in a second. Broke the bar that he was behind in half, pinned him behind the bar. He screamed, and someone else at that point was in the lobby area as all the water started to rush through, and they ran next door to the Ingleside, where the emergency management people were and the entire fire company of Beach Haven. About 8 of them came over here and were able to extract him from behind the bar.
Lobby of the Seashell.
Watch that one sitting on that table right here. The electrical panels are under looters, so you can't fill them all. Okay. Hold on.
Get your bearings, guys.
Because we had that truck other towns were relaying people to us, and this room here became full of people and pets and all kinds of things. And we estimated about 170 people went through here to the various shelters.
We had the first tide. We had 18 inches of water in here. Went down to 3. I was pretty stoked just to have 3 inches. Within 40 minutes, all hell broke loose. Water came through the floor. Water came in every orifice you can believe. There's a crawl space under there. It was pouring through there. Stuff was just moving everywhere outside. The water started coming up so fast that I would say within 20 minutes, it was up over this step right here. So I'm running around in my wetsuit. I got a dry suit upstairs, and I got a rescue can and everything else. The water started to come in here, started boiling through the floor like crazy. I go down the stairs. Here. There's that much water. I'm standing up there going, let me see. Well, am I going to throw my dry suit on, grab my rescue can, walk out there, jump over the deck? That's floating down. It probably float away. Who the hell knows where that's going to go? Half the boats in the marina are missing. That one's just moving around like it's going out of style. Boats in the marina were literally getting blown off their blocks and smashing into each other. Now, I had quite a few beers in me because you can't go through a storm without alcohol. All these trailers, all this stuff here, we had sheds, we had all kinds of stuff, was just floating away. We had a wakeboard boat that was sitting right here that actually floated, went through that opening right there, and floated out in the middle of the bay. On the island over there, you can see that.
We had a fire call where apparently 2 people were stuck in the house, and the house was potentially on fire.
People stuck in a structure fire, and our truck is actually stuck in the sand.
We were hit by waves and were succumbed to the sand and the tide, and 7 blocks from the Ingleside, that truck just died. We weren't moving it.
This is the ocean on Beach Ave. As we empty the truck.
Almost nobody talked. It was a very somber moment. And at the same time, on that walk home, we looked up in the skies. We're walking south to the Ingleside, and it was the eye because we saw the full moon.
We were out front of the building here, the chief and I, and there seemed to be a big bright light over the ocean, almost looking like maybe a ship or something in distress. And I called somebody in Harvey Cedars to see if they could see something, and within a minute we determined that it was the moon. And the flag dropped out completely flat. No wind, just the roar of the ocean.
It took you a second to notice the fact that it was just, there was no wind, there was no rain. It was almost like nothing, if you didn't see anything around you, it was like nothing had happened.
I mean, you always hear something, you know, a car or a bird or something, and it was just dead quiet.
You just knew that the worst was coming at that point.
Within minutes, the flag stood straight out.
There's no lights because the power's gone.
Here comes the 60-mile-an-hour winds again. Here comes the sideways rains. Here come the waves.
And all debris went from east to west.
Everything floated that way. As soon as it switched south, everything floated back. And then it blew, then everything blew apart.
We took a look, and every street, the ocean was coming down every street.
And we got 30 inches within 8 minutes.
And then a radio starts going off because people that weren't supposed to be there were like, I need to get rescued.
2 or 3 feet of water just blanket this whole area. So you just think of looking over the Maristella to your right there, and that was just, again, 2 or 3 feet of water.
after 8 o'clock, we were going to cease operations of pulling people out of houses that didn't evacuate. We weren't going to take the risk of putting my own lives in jeopardy. You know, we'll sacrifice life and limb, but the main thing is we go home to our own family, and that's what's important here.
And you could see the wave, the water from the bay hitting the ocean and just going up in the air. And you're contemplating, how stupid am I being here? But I mean, that was only a Category 1 hurricane. If it was Category 2 or Category 3, I would have probably been a dead man. You know?
Wake up the next day, and what can you do but just jump in the car and go see what's up? You start to kind of realize that it's pretty serious.
It was one of those things, looking back, you can't believe this really happened.
When you lose water and sewer and power and internet and phones and electric and gas, all of a sudden your world becomes really small.
Getting in there was a chore in and of itself. There were so many houses that were crushed, boats on top of houses, cars in the salt marsh and lagoons and on the middle of the road.
I don't think anyone was fully prepared unless their house was on pilings or their business was on pilings. You know, you had seen like a few pictures through social media, and it just looked like nothing you have ever seen before. And with such a disaster of that magnitude, it was like, where do you begin?
Storm, it looked like a nuclear bomb went off, like there was in Holgate. I walked down, I was like looking at the street, I was like...
Did you see the house?
Yeah.
On the beach with the hole?
Yeah, I saw that. It was crazy because I was walking down the street and just destruction got worse because all of a sudden I see this hot tub in the middle of the road. I'm like, oh, nice little hot tub. And it was covered in sand. And then there was the house at the end of the boulevard, or the end of the street with just a hole in it.
Just because you have all these people off the island, you know that they want to get back to their homes. They want to get back to see if their investment is still there. You have this then tension of getting the place safe enough for them to come back to do that.
They posted a good number of Stafford officers, as well as a few from Long Beach Township right here where we're sitting. And basically nobody was coming on that wasn't in possession of an emergency management identification card.
We couldn't even get close to the bay with the National Guard, so we threw a boat in the water, and then we went across by ski and by boat because we wanted to have, you know, dual transportation because of the debris everywhere, just in case somebody got in trouble.
And that was really the first we all saw of the devastation.
And there's a big sport fishing boat, and the flying bridge is up in the telephone wires. You know, how do you even begin to take care of that? And, you know, we came to the backside of LBI. We were just going to shoot some photos. And, I mean, what we saw was it was, you know, mind-boggling.
It's like a surreal sort of war zone scene. And everything is covered in sand and blown out walls and doors and, you know, roofs. And this is, you know, your hometown.
It really was tough to really get on the emotional scale that was necessary to take in what exactly took place.
You saw pictures a day or so after the storm of just all these ocean fronts on their pilings, and it just hits you like a wall. If that's what that's like, what are our homes like? And then people came down and they got to see.
It's almost like losing a family member. You know, you don't know what to think of what, and you're just stuck in this daze.
You know, once the sun went down, it was dark, it was cold. The only lights were the Humvees cruising around. And to just kind of look off my deck and to not see a single light for as far as, you know, you could see, it is just so dark.
As we come around this next bend, behind these homes is nothing but marshland that goes all the way across to Cedar Run Dock Road, and it's wide open to the bay facing Holgate. And you'll see that these homes are completely destroyed. I mean, what is even going on there? Want to take a walk up? This may have come from Cedar Run Dock Road. Yeah, that's Cedar Run Dock Road. So a lot of stuff came this way, and this boat likely came from there.
This store was not hit by Superstorm Sandy, but my purple North Beach Haven location had about 24 inches of water in it, and it sits pretty high. And my home was hit. I live in Ship Bottom. Even though I have a lot hit, I feel like I don't know. I could be kidding myself. That's where we are. I think I'm okay.
The interesting thing when you talk about damage here, our neighbors to the south, the Ingleside Resort, similar to us, sustained no damage. The big condo project to the north of us just got no damage whatsoever. This thing, for whatever reason, just drew a bullseye on us and came right through the windows.
Come on, Mike, get out of the way.
Everything just came swooping in here. I mean, I had horseshoe pits. You can see all that stuff got pushed up. Everything just got pushed up to the house. Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, the garage probably had water up to here. So even my tools and stuff that I put up on workbenches, everything just got shot. I opened the garage door that morning. I came back, and it looked like somebody turned on a blender. I mean, everything was just churned up. Freezer was upside down. It was a mess, and all my equipment for my business was in there. So I lost everything. So I lost my business in that too. It's nuts.
At the Ship Bottom School, Long Beach Island Grade School, we have some outside damage. We have some washed away areas around the perimeter of the building. The roof damage was extensive. And then in our below grade area, which is really kind of like the basement, where we house our boiler system, condensers, transformers, electrical panels, security, phone system, etc. All of that was totally immersed in water. Everyone that was stationed at LBI is now here at Ethel A. Jacobson School, and so we're in places that we normally would not be in.
You can't go home, so you congregate with some friends at night and have a couple beers and talk about what's going on. And Jerem, myself, started talking, and obviously it's let's make a shirt.
Literally that morning, it was already, they were already moving forward with it, and we hadn't even been to work yet.
You kind of really started to get the scope of how bad it was, and we just knew that we had to do what we could, and we can print T-shirts. We started texting Johnny in California, and we all kind of were on the same page and said, get ready, we're gonna, design a shirt and launch it, make this happen, and start raising some funds. Styles, graphics, colors, everything back and forth.
At one point, we had a red cross rather than a hurricane symbol. And
3, 4 in the afternoon hit, we had it. Walked in Jerem's office and just told him that. Just said, hey man, I think we just did something that's gonna change, the way we do business and who we are for Jetty.
I remember my iPhone just bing, 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 new email, all just order from jettylife.com. It was just a technological nightmare for the small company that we are. And then it became a daily operation of just nonstop printing from basically the next day. We ordered T-shirts the next day because we sold 2,500.
2,500 in that first 24 hours. We averaged 2 shirt sales a minute, and that included the website crashing twice.
Yeah, they said there were 1.5 million people on our website. Restore the Shore has become synonymous with everybody's efforts throughout New Jersey, and just has a nice ring to it, you know, being that we live at the Jersey Shore. But we kind of chose Unite and Rebuild before anyone even said Restore the Shore, and in the long run, I think that worked out really well for us and kind of separated our effort from everyone else's. Not that it's a bad thing, everything's going to the same cause, but just kind of distinguished what we were going to do really early.
When we launched it on social media, it also happened to be, you know, was 2 days after the storm, and that was at a time where everyone was relying on Facebook for their updates for the storm. So people were already all over social media, way more than normal.
Facebook was absolutely huge in all of this. You know, no other way could so many people spread so much media. You know, you could send an email to 10 of your friends, but you could post something and all of a sudden, you know, 100 or 1,000 people are seeing it, 1,000 people are commenting on it.
We didn't have the news crews, so nobody who had houses in Surf City had any way of knowing how the town had fared. So from time to time, you see things and you snap pictures. When we had breaks, I would upload it onto Facebook. By taking pictures and putting them on Facebook, it gave people an opportunity to see, you know, how the town was doing.
I wound up finding that Facebook was useful for the first time in my life, and I could just, at the end of the day, post things up to Facebook. And so I had come and I took videos from the top floor here, and I could pan through the whole neighborhood and give a little narration of what's likely to be in your house.
I don't know what boats were here, but they're not here anymore. The sailing shack is sort of here. I think this is Medusa's boat.
You know, if you're low, you're wet, and if you're high, your garage is wet.
Deluche's doors are pushed in. Bub, your automatic flood doors appear to have operated.
The question marks started going around about how long are we going to be displaced? Was it going to be a week, 2 weeks, 2 months?
Just damage. Oh, it is so sad. The water's finally gone down today. We haven't had a chance to get back here.
But you knew that people were displaced from their homes. There was a ton of homes that were just destroyed, and people weren't going to be able to go back to them. So what did people need?
Sent the crew out with, 10 cars, and they just filled up 20 or 30 shopping carts. We got the local shelters and food banks what they needed. So that was, the most immediate way that we could help was to raise $10,000 really, really quickly, and then, spend it locally, fill up shopping carts, and get it to these people who are displaced.
Shelves of blankets and pillows and toys, air mattresses and diapers, baby stuff, just things you wouldn't even realize that were necessities,
When we found out that we really weren't allowed to buy supplies and give them out to people, imagine that, we pretty much went into empowering other nonprofits so that could be declared as a charitable contribution.
And the first response units.
Right,
because they all have the tax ID stuff,
and thankfully, almost every firehouse and first response unit is a nonprofit organization.
Some first response units were sleeping on the concrete floor, working 12-hour shifts, no places really to shower, no places, barely, basic food and stuff, and sleeping on concrete with no pillows or blankets or anything. So that was the next step.
Then Jetty had sent over like 30 air mattresses. So between the cots and the air mattresses and the couches and the top of the pool table, everybody had a place to sleep.
We grew to probably 200 people a day having meals at the firehouse. We were serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
We opened the doors and the donations again started piling in. The entire gym was filled, baby items, toiletries.
We had a lot of help from SCOJOs.
So we did dinners for a few days and then we just did breakfast and lunch.
So if somebody came in, we fed them, and if not, we'd go out for about an hour and just run around the different points and just give them a choice of what they wanted.
This hangar contained all the supplies that were flown in.
Coats, jackets, hats, gloves, etc. We had probably about 2 or 3 classrooms filled with supplies as well.
And then Stafford Township itself came here and put supplies because their relief centers were overflowing.
I'd take anywhere between 30 and 50 cups of soup and sandwiches.
We were also the only bathrooms around. Just a little necessity.
It was amazing.
It was great to see.
A food pantry.
Some people just came in for coffee, others, needed the meals.
This was sort of the safe haven and the safe place here. We are a community here and we all stuck together as a family.
The site was also utilized by the National Guard, and a number of generals came in and staff folks, and they'd had coordinated meetings here and used this as a base to fly over the island, Long Beach Island, as far north as Point Pleasant, doing survey work.
Just coming to grips on the scope of it, the longevity of it, and the different phases of it, you learn pretty quick that there's so many other factors that come into play.
You're sort of dumbfounded where, you've got all this debris and you're like, pick up one thing to take somewhere to just start and then you don't know where you're at again. Then you pick up something else and go back the other way and you're running in circles for a long time.
These people are emptying their garages, and some of the houses on the bay, the amount of wood from docks and other people's houses that washed up into their yards, it was incredible.
What a shame.
You hear stories about there's cars being lost, there's lots of docks and decks, floating in the water.
The Barnegat Bay is so unique, and we're so fortunate to have it that it really needs some attention right now.
Going out in my canoe, crabbing, clamming, going out and setting my crab traps and stuff like that. That's like a huge part of living here.
Fishing to the boating and just the natural habitat of it all.
When you're looking at Barnegat Bay, you're looking at this huge water body that's actually quite massive. It's on a scale that's not normal for a lagoonal estuary. So all of that water has the ability to hide a lot of these contaminants and chemicals. There's been a lot of research done by the Edwin B. Forsyth Wildlife Refuge to try to determine how many contaminants are now in the Edwin B. Forsyth Wildlife Refuge. And that's just on land, and they came up with well over 80 different chemical contaminants that would need to be cleaned up within their refuge. In the water, it's going to be far more than that, we think.
Companies that have been hired by the state that are coming in there, they're using sonar all through the channels and even into the harbors to see what's sunk. And then they have a guy that's coming through with a crane and they yank it out. You can see there's, by that ramp there's some dumpsters that are coming in with the stuff.
If they didn't have the beach replenishment project, you would see devastation in Harvey Cedars that would, amount to what they have seen down in Holgate, quite possibly Ortley Beach, Lavalette, Seaside Heights area. Harvey Cedars is very lucky. Surf City was very lucky just because of the fact that they had the beach replenishment project.
The biggest takeaway of all this is that Army Corps design really worked. It actually stopped the waves before they got to the development to cause damage.
But that's when kind of the next set of issues set in, which was insurance, people waiting for money, FEMA stuff, and small business association loans, and just basically financial. People thinking, how am I gonna get back in my house? How am I gonna get my business reopened? Am I gonna have to raise my house? And, unfortunately, it wasn't, on a county or state level. It was really hard to get that information and get answers to those questions.
My business, my rental, and my home. My home took almost 5 feet of water. My business had 4.5 feet of water, and a rental had about between 10 and 12 inches.
It came over the counters. Yeah. Which is why the bathroom's gutted and everything's gutted. It's just the sinks. I just took everything out.
We're still waiting for insurance money. We're still waiting. Do I have the answers? No. Do I know if I'm going to get to move back in my home? No. Don't have the answers.
The pilings were completely exposed. And back then, after the 62 storm, they wanted you to have the breakaway boards and the piling. And they were requiring 25-foot pilings at the time. And my dad put 35-foot pilings in. So they were exposed, probably 20 feet of them were exposed.
As you know, Governor Christie has come out and said that he's going to establish a new base flood elevation. FEMA came out with a new floodplain advisory map. It'll take 1.5 to 2 years for it to become law, but they've raised my base flood elevation 2 feet. A lot of people on the water are now in the V10 zone, meaning that their base flood elevation is 10 feet above sea level, and that they're subject to wind and wave action, so they cannot build, they can't even sneeze without putting a piling in.
They use three-dimensional elevation data called LIDAR. So they create a three-dimensional surface across an entire region. And along this one line, they get the elevation contours, and then they run a storm wave model along that. And they map where the houses are, vegetation, salt marshes, all types of things, bulkheads. And they see how far a 3-foot wave will propagate inland. And the edge of where that 3-foot wave stops, and then you have a 3-foot to a 1.5-foot wave so that 3-foot wave is a V zone, and then anything less than 3 is an A zone. You get a coastal A zone between 3 and 1.5, and then a regular A zone less than that.
You don't know if you were ever correctly insured. They're going to determine what they're going to give you. I don't know that that's really ever going to match for anybody of exactly what they lost. I don't know anyone that's going to say, boy, I got all this money back and I don't even know what to do with it. I can't imagine that that's going to happen to anybody.
Yeah, I got my supposedly big check from the insurance company, and in my opinion, it's $30,000 to $40,000 light. We're going to go back and fight them for more, but if I didn't have volunteers come and rip out, that's an extra, say, $5, $6, $7 grand that I would have had to spend. So I saved that. You can see up here, the window, we boarded it from the inside. But the window and then all this flashing up here, they denied our claim because they said that wasn't caused by wind, that was caused by stormwater. Way up there was caused by, so my argument was, so I guess this rogue wave zigzagged its way through Beach Haven West and came crashing down on my house. I just don't understand. So I'm assuming they didn't even look at my claim and just denied it. So needless to say, I'll appeal it.
It's like our kitchen is, we had to tear up from the ground up, literally the ground up. We have the whole ground exposed, and we're replacing all our sewer lines and stuff.
I'd say it was somewhere about, waist high. It was anywhere between, I think, 40 inches to 44 inches at range. We're lucky in the respect that this happened at the end of the season. So we had, basically our year's income had already come in. So we were able to afford to start working on the place and get busy and, to buy us time until we can get what little insurance we are going to get, so.
I think everything will be fine, Jetty's doing a lot. They're helping out big time with all the stuff they're doing. I mean, they're doing a lot of work, and I don't know. It's hopefully all the businesses get back up and running and it turns into what it was,
Basically, there's 3 types of businesses, 3 types of responses to this from a business standpoint. The first would be people that hit the ground running and opened up right away. The other
aspect of that is there are people that are seasonal business owners that weren't planning on opening until the summer anyway. Some of them are actually putting themselves back together, but the real big problem is the people who are basically getting strung out by their insurance companies. Maybe they've taken their money that they have in savings and they put it into to get their store back open. How do they stock their store for the summer? Where's their inventory money going to come from?
You know, nobody disagrees that there's a disaster, but nobody wants to pay for it. And it's a problem, and it's going to continue to be a problem until everything gets up and running.
When they tell you we're going to give you a new roof, and then they depreciate your roof by 50%, and they give you the money for a new roof, and you say, well, I can't put a new roof on with this. It's kind of funny how that works.
So, like, you gotta wait for the adjuster to come.
Can't throw away the debris until they
Yeah, so you gotta leave the carpet outside, all the piles of debris, like, you know, everything for them to come and inspect. And hopefully that'll all work out well, but I think there's a lot of people out there that don't know what kind of coverage they're gonna get yet and don't have the credit or the money to get them back on their feet, and that's, you know, a concern for not only those type of people personally, but the community as a whole.
We finally said, okay, we know the check's coming. We went out and ordered the hardwood floors, got a new couch, we bought a new TV. And then my house burned down on Wednesday. So we were finally moving forward with the damage from the flood. And then I got a call at school saying I need to get home because my house was on fire. So now we're back where we started.
I think everybody was just, you know, had this extremely emotional experience to see the place that we love just get trashed. Pretty much all you can do is just straighten up your house and then turn around and help whoever you can to, you know, because if your house is okay, it almost doesn't do any good if your whole community is wrecked, you know?
You come to terms and come to grips with, okay, well, there's only so much we can do, and we can only take one step at a time. So where do we start? And what can we do on our ultimately small, level?
I mean, it was literally the next day, Ray, my boyfriend, and I were just trying to figure out how we were gonna pay our mortgage and how we were gonna pay rent, the rental. And we went back to the house just to kind of process it all. And I was out front picking up just some cans that got knocked over. And this guy walks up to me and he's like, "Are you Darcy?" I said, "Yes." And he just hands me a stack of gift cards and a huge, huge check from Jetty. And I didn't know this man, but never expecting the next day I would have one less thing to worry about in terms of, just being able to live and being able to pay rent and my mortgage.
We were just doing what we could and trying to think about how to organize.
Start with the circle, the people that your friends, your family, who needs help. Then the little splinter cells started popping up. The Holgate group, Elizabeth and everyone at Holgate that came together and said, all right, well, we have a list of places that need gutting.
People are afraid to just roll up their sleeves and go. You're my brother, you're my sister. Let's go over, that house over there, let's gut it together. And we just got the mold out. It's about getting the mold out, and do you have your mask?
All right, everybody got to look at the same time. 5, 2, 2. Yeah. All right, one more.
As everything was happening, the entire response was evolving. And what was needed at 9 o'clock in the morning may not have been anything near what was needed by 5 o'clock that afternoon.
Guys like Joe Mangino, I didn't know him before his storm. I went to help a friend of mine who lives a couple houses down from Joe. And I got to my buddy's house, and he had been flooded, and we gutted his garage, and we cleared everything out. And he looked at his two little girls, and he said, hey, you guys want to go down the street and get lunch at Joe's house? And I'm like, what is Joe's house? What are we going to get lunch at Joe's house,
Our whole group started, it's actually called START, and that came about the second day after the storm. First day we were here, we gutted our house. We came back the second day to do work, and we're working, and we opened the door, and it's, my wife's a teacher. It was a bunch of teachers from her school. One fellow named Mike Dunley. They came, gutted our house, in no time. It was 20 or 30 people here. So we got everything cleared out.
And here's this guy whose house is gutted, and he's got like a buffet set up in his living room. And there's all these people from the neighborhood just surrounding this guy's house.
So then they went around. There were other teachers in the area or students that they knew. So they went around, I think that day they did 3 or 4 more homes. And then from there, it just kind of grew into this grassroots wild movement.
Sometimes we all fall down, 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 down. Sometimes we all fall down.
Let's demo and let's mold remediation and we're learning about this stuff as we go. Sort of how we started Jetty. We just learned as we went.
We just fan out and start doing homes. And I mean, we had 75, 100 people easy, and we're doing 10 homes a day, 15 homes a day, 20 homes a day.
He was basically getting intel of addresses that needed to be, houses that needed to be gutted, and to cut the sheetrock and pull up the carpets and get that stuff out of there. And then food donations are coming in, and he sets it up. Anybody, just come on in, eat something, get warm, and then we'll go out and we'll do that.
We knew that we could do it. We knew that we could organize the troops and we could accomplish a ton, but we weren't really sure exactly how the process was going to work.
Sometimes we all
Great today. I'm proud of you. Proud of you guys. Thank you.
Some people have the money to buy the materials, and others have nothing, and we're just trying to piece it together as we go.
Everyone just kind of came together, and then the round table sort of happened, and Jeremy and Cohen and those guys going up to the Ergo offices and meeting John Rose and getting on that program, and then he introduced really the guidance.
As an established organization, there's people reaching out to us to help, whether that's corporations, whether that's individuals, and they have a lot of different ways they're trying to provide support, and that could be products. Could be monetary donations. It could, whatever. But I wanted to be able to receive all of that, and then establish distribution channels in each sort of disaster zone through these local networks that we were going to build.
I'd done a little bit of homework on Waves from Water. I knew they were an internationally recognized 501c3 with clearly a ton of disaster relief intelligence and expertise.
So John Rose basically set up a New York roundtable and a New Jersey roundtable, and you have people from every community at the Jersey Shore, and we're all kind of sharing our resources and where are we going to go from here, and then taking that information back to our own communities, setting up our own meeting, and then rebuilding. Hey, this is something that we learned. You guys might want to try this, and we have all these extra shovels, and we're going to send them up to you guys. And so it's been pretty cool the way everybody's working together.
There was probably about 10 people. And I just wanted to see what they were doing, if they wanted to, participate, if they already were, what they were doing, making sure that people weren't duplicating efforts, and almost funnel all that information through a central command of sorts, and get everyone lined up. And each of those people probably brought 1 to 2 people for that meeting. So there's about 20 people that came, and John was one of those people.
I mean, I showed up at Mud City Crab House the other day. There was a charter bus of people from Ohio that came down, and there was people from the AmeriCorps, and then you had middle-aged women who were like, we were like, oh my God, this was supposed to be the small day
volunteerism and where did all these people come from?
He's been all over the world and seen, the worst disasters that we've seen in our lifetimes. And he was able to come in and say, this has to be a priority. This has to be a priority. Because, all of a sudden you have 100 different viewpoints saying, what do we got to do? Do we have to pick up the trash? Do we have to gut these homes? Do we have to clean the beach? And he'd come in and say, listen, I've dealt with this. This has to be a priority. This has to go on the back burner. We're all going to get through it.
It was incredibly difficult to try to realize that we weren't going to be able to do this alone. Normally there's that Islander mentality that, if we band together, we can get through anything. And that really wasn't going to be the case anymore. We needed more help.
And there was a guy who was like, oh, we'll do bay cleanups. And there was another guy who's like, we'll do demo. And so then underneath that person had volunteer groups, because there's a lot of people mobilizing down there from the community. It just took this little bit of structure. And it's a roadmap of sorts for disaster relief.
I want to try to establish subcommittees. This is the third meeting now. I want this to be the last big meeting. From now on, I would like the subcommittees to try to meet so that if you're on business subcommittee, you're not sitting through a whole lot of construction talk. And if you're on the canvassing committee, you're not listening to a lot of environmental. If you want to be involved in one or two committees, everybody's going to work together.
He gave us the confidence and the resources, and from there it just grew until all of a sudden you have these large groups coming to us and asking, hey, what can we do?
LBI Crew is a shining example of local relief efforts. They've definitely had our support along the way, but I have to give them full credit for stepping up and customizing the initiatives to their place. And they're just ahead of the game. They're really organized, and frankly, that just comes from good leadership.
At that point, there was, piles of garbage in front of every house and business. People were gutting their homes, but we started to talk about, well, how are we going to get rid of this garbage? And John Rose talked about the psychological impact of looking at, all these piles of garbage, and it was sad. Mm-hmm. And you wondered, how long is it going to take them to get rid of this garbage, or do we just start getting trucks and getting rid of it?
You start hearing everybody's, and sometimes it's good because you hear their stories and oh, you're thinking the same thing that they are thinking. You saw it on TV, you heard about it, and you're like, oh, it feels, but you don't really get it until it happens to you personally.
This is the first spiritual program that we've offered. It's called I Am With You on the Journey. What we're trying to do is give people a spiritual lens through which to look at their experience of really exile, displacement, loss, in light of Hurricane Sandy, and also the fact that we are being resurrected, we're being reborn.
A lot of people who stayed, I believe, had post-traumatic stress created in their bodies because their eyes are kind of in shock, of the trauma that they saw and the disbelief of how powerful the ocean can be. I couldn't go out and even move the garbage around because I didn't have motivation within myself. But when people come to help you, you feel so amazing that they're here to help you, and that's all, just to give to you. If we come back here and recreate ourselves, which is what we're all doing now, I feel really good about it. It's like a rebirth.
The municipalities ended up doing a really great job getting rid of the garbage and all the debris and rubble.
It did make a huge difference. As soon as that trash was gone, and then people were coming through town and going, oh, it doesn't look that bad.
Yeah.
Now we're in the rebuilding process, and we've got tools and rock salt, humidifiers, and we're getting there. We are, we're slowly getting back, and now we just need to let people know that summer is going to be awesome. It's going to be, a great place to come again. So that's the message we got to get out now.
We have potential to have a great summer, I think, because unfortunately for our neighbors up at Seaside, they're not going to be at 100%. They're
you just heard news stories, you'd think the entire Jersey Shore was in ruins, but it's not.
Also, I also feel that, and I almost feel the opposite too. I almost feel like because people are just looking at it like it's some attraction, I feel like it's insensitive. Like we're dealing with this every day. It's not something for you to gawk at.
Yeah.
Like it's irritating, like sometimes.
I just wish I'd get it over with and wish everything was like
I'm
like
over it.
pre-Sandy.
I think it's
Like,
time to come back to normal.
yeah, it's time to be pre-Sandy.
You know, what we need to do and how we need to move forward, making sure that LBI was back for summer, and that letting people know that we were back, that we were still here.
Everybody working together is going to be to everyone's benefit. The more businesses that actually get to reopen and are prepared for the year just makes the island in general seem like a more inviting place.
As a practitioner and having an acupuncture practice, our first thought was, well, we can at least offer people the ability to come over, have a place of refuge, offer services that give people peace of mind, have everyone come together as community.
We wanted to reach out into the community and see what role that we could fill.
People were very anxious to come in. They just wanted to have a place where they could feel like they were normal.
We offered a lot of goodwill assistance through the dealership for the community. The cars wouldn't run, they were towed in, they had nowhere to go, no way to get there. The cars wiped out wet.
Our shack on the causeway was washed completely away. So I did a commemorative print of the shack.
I wasn't even expecting to find the shack, and it's like, it was there, So, I never really expected to have a following with the shack would now.
Internet was big, information about FEMA. We connected with FEMA right away, and we had FEMA representatives at the library helping people figure out what they needed to do.
The event was an evening where we invited first responders and the firefighters and police officers and everyone from the community to just come, gather, have an evening off.
Wet, dried, vacuumed, cleaned them out. Helped them out, got their back on the road again.
I've sold a lot of those. Then I give a percentage of that to the Surf City Firehouse.
The idea was help people that can in turn then pay it forward,
right,
and help others.
Right, the whole pay it forward mentality.
There was a lot of healing, a lot of positive thought, what the outlook needs to be for this area.
That's what our goal here at the foundation is, to have not only more events like that, but to offer other programs and classes that can offer the community a way to just take that break.
One of which will be to do a Sandy writing workshop for people to come over and sort of just talk about the experiences that they had with Sandy and just sort of get it out on paper.
The main reason I started making them was because, just this one girl asked for me to make one for her. Why not put some of these random sizes to use? So I just started cutting out jerseys, that I had the shack with. I was like, hey, let's try that.
Sandy relief became a daily part of our lives and a daily part of Jetty, and it still is.
Well, for almost 2 straight months, we turned into a charity vehicle.
Yeah, the t-shirt sales obviously slowed down. We weren't getting hundreds of orders a day. We were getting, we might have been getting 90 orders a day, and then 50, and then 30, and on the weekends 70. So there was still a lot of money coming in, but we realized that we were going to reach the end of the line with the t-shirts, and that's where we introduced the sweatshirts to give people, just a different garment to buy. And then also the East Coast Rising event. That was our first charitable event of the new year in 2013, and we just kind of realized that this was going to go on for a long time. We were going to need to incorporate our relief efforts into events and, just different ways to raise money. A lot of people come over that bridge and see that giant trailer, thanks to Waves for Water, with all the supplies and our big banner, and it's maybe kind of gaudy to people that don't know. But what we're donating the money to is people and groups that are leaders in the community, and we're empowering them to keep them going. And I just want to present a check to Velarde Construction to empower the biggest leader in this community to keep him going. Again, it was just clear who was leading the way in which area. You know, Dan Velarde was clearly going to be the local construction guy who, when we needed skilled labor beyond demo, was going to step up. And he actually made it mandatory for some of his crew to do volunteer work, which I just find amazing. This guy was working, 70, 80 hours a week, not only rebuilding homes and businesses for his business, but also just out of the good of his heart and just doing straight up charity work.
Everybody have a great night and embrace each other and keep it going.
Chris Huck from the ALO was clearly going to lead the way for beach and bay cleanups. We had made a donation of $10,000 to the Alliance for a Living Ocean, which he's the executive director of, just solely based on the fact that not only are they a great nonprofit that keeps our environment clean, but they're showing the energy and the manpower and the ability to attract volunteers to clean up around our homes.
We assisted with a cleanup that was already being organized by Beach Haven regular named Todd Stone, who actually set up a Facebook event for his friends to do a little beach cleanup. It was actually a public event on Facebook. He didn't set it as private, so it quickly gained more and more of a following until he went from the dozen friends that he thought he was going to have for that weekend to well over 1,000 people.
I'm out here with Alliance for Living Ocean. We're here with the Ship Bottom Barrow, and we are planting dune grass has been given to us so that we can reestablish our dunes for the next year. By planting different types of species on our dunes, we end up being able to stabilize the dunes. The root systems go into the dunes and really cause basically a very good foundation, keep the dunes from getting eroded when we have wind damage and when we have wave damage. Because as the wind blows the sand, it'll get trapped in the foliage of the plants.
John Cohen, who's kind of the press / creative guy, making sure we kind of market things in the right way, making sure that, articles got ran in different papers, making sure that press releases got out. He came up with the postcard campaign to let people know outside of the area that we were back on our feet and businesses were opening. We have a much louder voice, and, we've basically threw our hat into the ring for, making our area how we want it to be, and not just, being complacent about what this area has been for the last, 50 or 100 years. Things change and demographics change and tourism changes, and we just need to be able to have a say in how our beaches are replenished, how it looks when you come over the causeway onto the island.
Since the storm, we know that the money is coming from Congress to do these beach projects. Every politician wants it. Every homeowner wants it. We get it. Surfers get it. Anybody who goes to the beach knows that a fun beach is one where you can walk into the water, go out on the sandbar, body surf some waves, little kids play on the sandbar. Surfing revolves completely around the sandbar. Fishing is about the sandbar. You have a trough and a sandbar, and kind of, that's really what people do when they go to the beach. Is there a way that you can modify your project to not kill our sandbar? Because we're busting our asses to bring this town back, but there's this recreational resource that is the sandbar that they're ready to completely obliterate. And we just want to work to make these projects better so that we're protecting the houses, fortifying Long Beach Island, but we're keeping the sandbar, which is really one of our greatest resources.
Every little thing's gonna be alright. I ain't worried about the system, I'm just living my life. Every little thing's gonna be just fine. If you ain't talking about the music, then you're wasting my time.
Today is an uplifting day, I think, for a lot of the guys. This is our 96th annual turkey dinner. This is an annual event. Everybody knows it. We talk about it throughout the year, every year. It's constantly on people's minds. And that was one of the biggest concerns after we realized how devastated our firehouse was, is are we gonna be ready for the turkey dinner?
lot of love in this town. We've got different openings, we've got lots of smiles. The dinner itself has never been this crowded this early. I've been working this dinner for 17 years, and I can't imagine what the busy time is going to be like tonight. It's going to be crazy. But it's like all these people that weren't here since the storm, they're coming back with open arms and smiles and hugs, and it's just a very powerful, strong, happy day to meet all these people. It's a good day.
Some people call me crazy, but I ain't the same as them, so I don't let those people phase me. We're all just wired up with different DNA, and if you're living just to work, then that's the way.
All right, hold on, everybody. Hold on. Let me get the door open. And you got to come through one at a time. I want to make sure everyone gets a card, and they're good for a free pop day any Friday this summer season coming up.
I don't think words can really express how we all feel right now. Overwhelming.
For the happiness, not working for the man.
This is what they have here in the winter, and this is part of their growing up in memories, and we are beyond excited and happy. It's just, the mood in here is amazing. And if you would have seen this place, if we were like, we were half a foot higher, we would have been but we had about 7 inches in here, which is enough to get to all the machines, and so everything was ripped. Everything was gutted.
Everything's gonna be just fine. If you ain't talking about the music, then you're wasting my time. Every little thing's gonna be alright. I ain't worried about the system, I'm just living.
Hi, I'm Chloe Snyder. I'm Natalie Afghanis. And I'm Jane Kleber. We just finished putting on this Sandy 5K race in Surf City, New Jersey. We're 3 local girls. We were born and raised in Beach Haven, New Jersey, and we've lived here our whole life. And we figured that organizing a race would be the best thing, get people out here, and it's been really amazing.
These girls raised over $13,000. I'm sure it went up after today. We had 420 people signed up even on Tuesday, and my dog is pulling me here. She ran with me. Is it a treat? We have our postcard campaign where we're sending postcards out to the community and trying to reach out to further communities to say, come back to LBI this summer.
Long Beach Island is, it runs off of tourism. Almost all the businesses are open seasonally. You have your businesses that, can survive year round, but they're few and far between. I think the population on the island goes from around 10,000 to 100,000 in the summertime. So, being a viable tourist destination is incredibly important. And we were in a declining market the 5 to 10 years before this storm hit. We've used this as kind of a springboard, as an opportunity to reevaluate our tourist destination, beautify it, and kind of put it back in people's minds that, hey, we have 18 miles of beautiful white sand beaches with crabbing and boating and surfing and fishing and just a myriad of activities and great restaurants and shopping. We have a beautiful island that the entire area revolves around.
You're surfing? Oh, okay. That works. Where are you surfing to?
When you were last here, was that before or after the pipe burst?
It was the day after.
Oh, okay. So I keep track of things by disasters. Were you here the day the pipe burst, or the flood, or who knows what? Laundry room pretty much put back together, just delivered washer dryer. Got the baseboards, that needs to be painted. Our heat and hot water are working like champs. It's nice to have. From the storm, the community came together, and we've continued to have this sort of energy and this bond. You've met new people and new groups of friends, and way more people now than you did before.
It may take a little bit of time, but I think we're already planning events, even with the Cancer Foundation, to really try to incorporate local and use venues on Long Beach Island in Manahawkin so we can support local businesses and the families that have been affected.
I grew up here in Stafford Township, and I have a deep love for the area, seeing the area change over all these years, and also trying to maintain that quality of life that we've always enjoyed down here in Stafford Township.
You know, we're trying to get back to normal, but what normal is needs to change.
Liz reached out on Facebook on the Waste for Water page. And she's like, moving day's Friday, need volunteers, so.
Part of being living on an island is it's not a matter of if, but when. There's going to be another Sandy. There's going to be another 62 storm. You know it's coming. It could be next year. It could be 10 years, could be 50 years or 100 years. But we're going to get another bad storm. And hopefully with the lessons we've learned from 62 and from 92 and from Sandy, the impact won't be as great.
Is this Tommy's new house? Come on, Hank, want to come in?
Everybody kind of pulls together and does what you have to do. And when you think about the experiences that other people had to endure, you just do it.
We just actually ran across this guy working in the house and asked him if he needed some help, and turns out he was fixing it up to re-rent. So we fell in bed with that guy, and it's worked out really well for us.
It was pretty amazing to see. That was the most inspiring thing about the whole ordeal, was just how close and tight this whole community is now, and how much respect people have for one another. Because if we can get through this, we can get through anything, you know.
I think it's Jersey. It's gonna be bigger and better for sure. You know, I think there's just no other way. Like, no one's looking at the option of, hey, what happens if we're not back to normal? Everyone's just like, no, we are gonna be back to normal.
It's emotional. I mean, coming down here and see everything that's still wrecked. I mean, there's going to be a lot of work still to do down here for years. It's just going to be a transitional thing for a long time.
That pay it forward mentality. We all share it and we act on it. We just don't talk about it, we do.
It feels great, man. So many people came out and helped me. I wouldn't be where I'm at if people didn't come together and help me. Hey, Elizabeth, you have a garage. How cool is that?
People aren't going to give up their summer this summer. I don't think so. I'm going to have a hell of a good time. Summer's going to be summer again. Yeah, because we deserve it, that's for sure.
Helping people that need help, that are of this area, from this area, want to stay in this area, it's great. And then, it'll be our turn. My wife and I, it'll be our turn soon, so.
The summer is going to be the best it's ever been. There's so many events that have already been slated for this summer that have never even happened before. First annuals, Jersey Shore Fest and Thank You Fest and all these different things that are going on.
People that live here, own businesses here, own houses here, will not give up. There's just a special tie that people have to Long Beach Island. There's one way on, there's one way off. It just offers a lot in beauty, whether it's, the beaches or the bays, and it's just a great place.
Participating in cleanups, helping your neighbor, that needs to be the new normal. Remembering how it felt, that you were really lucky and you're in a good situation and compared to a lot of people. Or remembering how it felt when you got helped out of the kindness of people's hearts for no apparent reason whatsoever. Having just more knowledge about what's going on, how things work, and how you can make a positive impact and a positive change moving forward. That needs to be the new normal.
Another morning, and I'm still holding on to you. try to get some sleep, 'cause you're a secret that I need to keep. Come back, come back, come back, come back home to me. Come back, please come back, come back, come back, come back home to me. Come back, please come back, come back, come back, come back.